Richard Poulden, the Chairman and CEO of Wishbone Gold. So hello, Richard. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, Mark.
It's good to be talking to you. Of course, it's the very first time that we're speaking. You are listed in London. You're also dual listed as well. Is that right?
Well, we're listed on Aquis as well as AIM, but truthfully, the Aquis listing was just opportunistic. It was there for free for any companies that were in compliance, and it is cheaper to trade on Aquis.
Okay. Well, just to start us off then, Richard, with it being the first time that we're speaking, could you perhaps just introduce the company, perhaps give us the elevator pitch and tell us really what the company is all about and your vision?
Sure. The structure of the company and the plans for it changed during the lockdowns in 2020, because we did have a successful gold trading business in Dubai, but that came to a grinding halt when Emirates Airlines stopped flying. You may remember that they literally grounded the entire fleet. Mm-hmm. And since that's the freight feeder for Dubai, and particularly the gold trade, I looked at that, and in the early part of 2020, it was impossible to know how long that was going to go on. We had exploration properties in Australia, and so we took the decision to restructure the company and acquire more exploration properties. So focusing solely on exploration in Australia. Okay, we've had our lockdown problems in Australia as well. I'm half Australian, so I feel this quite substantially. But I think this has been a very successful change from the restructuring with a market cap of 1.5 million, and now it's 20 million. Now, I accept that we're off our peak of 30, but that's still quite a change in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So that gold trading side of the business, has that stopped then indefinitely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We still hold the licenses, but we're not planning to redo that. We will be focused solely on exploration.
On exploration. Okay. Well, let's look at the portfolio of projects that you have in that exploration. So can you just take us through the different projects that you have and the sort of stage that each one of them is at?
Certainly. We've got two groups of projects. Mm-hmm. One group in Western Australia, in the Patterson Ranges, and another group in Queensland, which is in the eastern side of Australia. The ones in Queensland fall into two groups, what we call the Wishbone Group and the White Setter Group. And we've announced some exploration results on the Queensland group a couple of weeks ago, which initially are good, but I would have to say that the flagship projects in the company are those in Western Australia.
Okay. So the ones that you have in Queensland, that's the Wishbone and the White Setter. Are they
White Mountains?
Sorry, the white Wishbone and White Mountains. Okay. What are they? What commodity are you exploring for? Is it gold? Is it copper?
There's a copper. Yes, copper. It's gold. There's a copper gold project.
It's a copper gold project. Okay. And what did you like about these projects? Why did you pick them up before we talk about the flagship?
Closology. The best place to find mineralization is close to where somebody else has already found it. Mm-hmm. So we've got a number of projects in that part of Queensland that have been historic gold mines that are currently operating gold mines. So it's a very good starting point, and then you go off and do your exploration.
Are there any plans to explore on there, or are they, as you say, are they kind of the focus is not there at the moment?
No. We've just announced exploration results on the Wishbone group of projects.
Okay.
They're in the Ravenswood district, which Ravenswood is a very well-known large copper gold deposit, and so we will continue that. But at the moment, the focus is going to be on Western Australia.
Okay, well let's go west then and talk about Western Australia. What have you got going on there? I know you are fairly close with some of the projects to, of course, the very famous Greatland Gold projects over there.
We are. In terms of closology, we are just up the road from, first of all, Newcrest Mining's Telfer gold mine. We're 13 kilometers southwest of that. And if we talk about Newcrest first, it is the largest gold mining company in Australia, one of the largest gold mining companies in the world. Telfer has been going for a long time, and it's not just a mine, it's a town with an airstrip and housing, hospitals, etc. But the Telfer gold mine is coming to the end of its life, and so Newcrest are particularly interested in finding other feedstock to keep the whole mining thing in operation. Then we are 60 kilometers west of Greatland Gold's Havieron discovery. And all of the current discoveries that people are coming across in the Pattersons were missed historically because you have to go below the Permian cover. Now, we're not going to go into a whole lesson on geology, but basically this is 300 million years ago. That's a layer of deposits that were formed. And the initial view was that there would not be significant mineralization below the Permian cover. Well, actually, that was 100% wrong. That is exactly where significant mineralization is in the Patterson Ranges. So the significance of Greatland's Havieron discovery really can't be overemphasized. This is ground that Newcrest surrendered and Greatland took over. And then in 2018, as you're well aware, that is when they discovered Havieron.
I wonder, you probably have quite a lot of knowledge of Greatland Gold and, of course, this area here that we're talking about. Why was this not discovered before? I've heard before that it's perhaps, it was thought that a lot of the gold was at surface, and then with new advances in technology, you're able to actually look deeper under the surface and find actually that there's a fair bit more. Is that what you're finding here? Why do you think this area hasn't been fully discovered yet?
Okay, what you say is certainly true, Mark. And the critical thing is that geology and exploration has advanced in leaps and bounds over the last few years. So when we took the option on Red Setter, we did a magnetic aeromag survey, and we can get more information from flying a plane over that property now than you could even 5 or 6 years ago get from having people on the ground. Okay. So this actually transforms the way it's possible to look at large areas, which is typical of Australia. And it enables you to focus your exploration.
So what about any historical data that you have on these projects then? Presumably you've had a look at them before you've taken on the licenses. And I noticed from the presentation, there are actually some historical, pretty significant high grades there of gold.
That's an interesting point, actually. There are high grades in Cottesloe,
yes,
which is to the south of Red Setter. And Cottesloe is very different because Red Setter is a copper gold clay, same as Havieron. And what we've got with Cottesloe is silver and lead. There's a little bit of gold there, but primarily it's silver and lead. So this is something that is absolutely critical feed for batteries and electric cars. Which, whatever you may think of them and their effect, they are coming as a major facet of our life in the world. And there is a shortage of the minerals needed to produce them.
Okay. So then what activities are going on at the moment then? You said this is your flagship project. What's the plan of action? Give us a sense of the roadmap going forward.
Sure. What we're doing, so if we come back to Red Setter, we've have a drill program, and I think there's another point that is important to discuss about the drill programs. All of these have to be cleared again and again with heritage surveys, so that the heritage surveys are done for the Aborigines and by the Aborigines to look for sacred sites and song lines, and so on. And you have to clear not only where you're going to do the drilling, but you have to clear the access to each drilling site. And we've done a lot of this over the last couple of years at Red Setter and also at Cottesloe. And it is laborious and quite expensive work. But relations with the mining community and the Aborigines are not the best in Western Australia for historical reasons. But so I'm actually answering questions that have come up in comments on our sites and emails saying, why do we keep doing all these surveys? And that's the reason. It's very important and we have to do it. So what we have in place at the moment is we have permission to do the current drilling program and a further drilling program. And we are also doing the gravity analysis, which I mentioned. We should have the results from that back, I would think, in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll announce that that's the case. There's not much really to announce other than that this gives us a more focused drilling program. We have sent off some of the core samples for analysis, but there is a lot of pressure on time in the labs, and just getting back analysis of one sample doesn't really tell you the overall picture of what you should be looking at and what you should be doing next. So it's really important to get all of the samples from a particular series of drill programs into the lab, all of it analyzed, and then you can start to build up a picture. And that's the point at which we'll make some announcements.
Okay. Well, thank you for painting the picture there of what's to come. I know you wanted to sort of finish off on some recent news from, of course, Greatland Gold and what's going on there with how they've recently raised a significant amount of money in order to progress their project. And perhaps you could also suggest a little bit about the geology. We've talked a little bit about what's under the cover, but these geological formations go over many thousands of kilometers in some cases, and how that, what's going on in the general area with maybe, I don't know, it's a new gold rush area. I don't know if it's fair to say that, but with what's going on with Greatland Gold and how it affects you.
Yeah. Well, I think the Pattersons is the hottest exploration area in Australia at the moment, and one of the hottest in the world, because it is a new geological model that people didn't understand until relatively recently. So that's why it's a hot area, and that's why there's the focus on it. But the significance of what's happened recently with Greatland, on Monday, they announced a major financing deal with bank debt financing, but also 120 million Australian dollar equity investment from Wailu, which is Andrew Forrest's private mining company owned by his family office. And for those people that don't know who Andrew Forrest is, he is one of the richest men in Australia and memorably created Fortescue Metals. We won't go into the history of Fortescue here. Everyone can look it up and read the story. It's a great one. Now, what that suggests to me is that Greatland is about to become Andrew Forrest's vehicle for going out and consolidating properties in the Pattersons. That's pure hypothesis. I have no basis for that, but he's a very smart man, very shrewd investor, and I don't think he would put that amount of money into Greatland unless he had much bigger plans for it than just sitting there as a passive investor. Now, Greatland is partnered with Newcrest. Newcrest owns 70% of Havieron, but the bank debt plus the equity investment from Forrest means that Greatland is now funded to maintain its position in Havieron through to production. That's obviously an estimate, but that is what they've announced. So that's all public domain information. I think the different spin that I'm putting on it is that I believe there could be a major struggle for land acreage in the Pattersons, even more than there has been up to now.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Richard. Richard Poulden, apologies, the CEO and chairman of Wishbone Gold. Thank you very much for your time today.
Mark, thank you for your time.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.